recording, John.
Hello, everyone. This is John McGaw and Bill Moist. We're here to talk to you about a couple of exciting new things that are going on with RVs and the world today with the COVID virus. So first thing, Bill's got a fantastic story. Now, I'm in Florida right now, and we're going to talk about, some people that also came to Florida. Matter of fact, 12 of them, I believe. Bill, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so I have a friend that came back from Florida, and he shared this on a webinar rather than in person, but he said that 12 of them were in Florida together, and they had rented a boat and had a captain, and they'd gone to a few bars. But what's interesting was one day somebody got stuck, and all of them jumped out of the boat, was pushing this boat out of where it was at. And so they all 12, including the captain, came down with COVID-19. And they didn't seem to do anything all that outrageous. They were out boating. They go to the bar, so they might have picked up the bar, but it most likely, they're not sure, but the captain of the boat got the COVID also. So now they're all, in seclusion back home where they're from. So at any rate, it is happening, and it's interesting. It went to the entire party.
Did they take an RV to get to Florida?
No, they flew, stayed in hotels.
Okay. And Bill, so, we got a lot to talk about here, but what's it take to build an RV in storage?
Well, you can see the roll up there. That lots of paperwork. And there's also a whole book that's about, probably at least 4 inches thick with all the particular specifications. So it takes lots of paperwork, a lot of designing. Of course, we're developing something that's kind of new here, and then lots of money. We probably have it all together, all the design and planning, around $200,000. But the great news is we'll be able to use this again.
Yeah. Now, I got a little story here about my son, and this leads into why we're here today. My son was on the back of a four-wheeler a couple of weeks ago. This was, I think it might have been the week after Father's Day weekend. And he's ridden motorcycles, driven boats, raced dirt bikes, he's got a street bike. So you name it, he's driven it or raced it or whatever. But he was on the back of a four-wheeler at my dad's place. And the girl who was driving, his cousin, had only driven a four-wheeler 2 times. Once that morning, and she got more confidence that afternoon. She was going full blast and about to make a corner, and he knew she couldn't make it. And I said, well, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you say, slow down, you're not going to make this? Well, you should have. And that's why we're here. We're going to talk about what's going on in the market and why RVs are a good place to put your money. Now, this is THOR Industry and Yahoo Finance. They just had a report last week about how much growth there is in one of the RV makers. Now, THOR makes Mercedes, and they also own Airstream since 1985 or 1980. And Airstream, and it's across the board, but Airstream has seen their biggest gain in history and biggest sales of all time. And just about everybody is seeing the same thing. Now, Bill, maybe you can talk a little bit about why people are buying these things nowadays with COVID. A couple of points.
Well, there's multiple reasons why people are buying RVs in reaction to COVID. But one of the reasons is, a lot of us can work mobily now. And most of these motor homes have Wi-Fi already built in, or if you're at a park, they all of them have Wi-Fi. That's one of the top requirements. You got to have a Wi-Fi. And so you can travel and work if you have a job that lets you do that. Maybe some kind of technology job, or you're in sales and it works. So lots of people are doing it for work, which is really great. It gives them some freedom to travel and see the country and still get their job done.
Now, here's another article. It's almost every news outlet now has talked about the RV sales and how they're exploding. There's so many people that do not want to get on airplanes or buses or trains. And Bill, tell us a little bit about the facts of that article.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's several places where you can rent RVs, and one of the companies said they are renting RVs to pro athletes, celebrities. They even had 10 to 15 billionaires this year, and that's in reaction to what the COVID is doing to us. That as of late April, only 14% of travelers feel safe taking a domestic flight. Not international, which might be 4, 5, 6 hours or longer, but domestic, which might only be an hour. And only 17% feel safe in a hotel or resort, according to this survey in late April.
Yeah, so as you can tell, there's a lot of people that are making this choice. They're traveling by their car, or they're buying an RV, and RVs sales are just going through the roof. You just wouldn't want to travel by plane, trains, especially not cruise ships. I mean, cruise ships are really going to be devastated. And we're having a resurgence right now. So, the best way to go is RVs. I called this place, now this place is off 35 in Alvarado, Texas. It is the world's #1 motor coach specialist. And I couldn't even get a sales guy on the phone because they were busy in the parking lot with customers. And so I went back to the receptionist, and she says, I said, I got one question. How are the sales? This is before we really knew how the sales were going. She said, we're setting records. We can't even get to the people that want to buy them. That's how many people are buying them. Now, Bill, maybe you can tell us a little bit. This is Bigger Pockets article. This was probably 5 weeks ago. They came out with this article about recession-proofing your real estate niches.
Yeah, John, it's interesting that during times of financial challenge, times of disruption, self-storage does really well. People are consolidating, maybe moving to a smaller place, and so they're storing things. And not only has our experience been that the business has been held steady, actually we're having a significant increase in demand and occupancy of our self-storage properties. And it's just not me, it's other local folks and people throughout the country. So self-storage is being filled up right now. And the other side of that is mobile home parks, which are lower cost way of living. And a lot of people are also have RVs on motorhome parks or something similar to that. Yeah. So both those areas are doing real well right now.
Yeah, and as you know, my mom's a full-time RVer, and she also has what they call a park model. So the RVs are in the back, and the park models, which is a mobile home, in the front. So, and again, here's another article. We won't go too much into this, but Forbes also reported that people are going to be traveling via RVs this year, and not just this year. With the resurgence, it's going to be, a long time that people will feel safe again to fly. And in that Forbes article, it says people can choose how much exposure to other people. I mean, you got your bathrooms, you got your showers, you can take your dog from Minnesota all the way to Florida and to California, and all you got to do is stop for gas and food, right? And so it's an awesome way to go. Now, Bill, I know you know this slide very well. How many people own them? How many people do it full time?
Well, there's over 10 million households. It's increased quite a bit this year, but the last count last year was 10 million households own RVs and motorhomes. So if there's an average of 3 people per household, that's 30 million people have access who own motorhomes or RVs. That's nationwide. But what's interesting about this is there's over 1 million households who are full-time RVers. And in the past, that was primarily retired folks that would sell their big house and get an RV for a few years and travel. But now we're seeing, like we mentioned earlier, people are working full-time and they're traveling for their job, and they'd rather stay in a motorhome than a hotel. But the other one that's interesting is parents with children who are still school age. I have a good friend, he and his wife are traveling with 6 kids, if you can believe that, in a motorhome, homeschooling those kids. So there's actually, kids on the road. There's lots of websites about that. The parents are traveling with their children in motorhomes full time.
Yeah, here's we got a little story about this article here, or this picture. We had one of our investors that did some research in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on motorhome parks or mobile home RV parks. Now, he called 72 of these locations, and out of 72, 26 of them wouldn't answer the phone at all. But he found out later why, through a social media outlet. It said that one of the residents there said, well, they're not answering the phone because they don't have to. They have a list, and they'll just, if somebody leaves, they'll just replace them. And almost all parks are full. There's a few spots, but most of them are full with waiting lists. Bill, why do these two classes go together, storage and RV parks?
Well, they really do because, if you have an RV park in the area and you also have an RV storage, the people who are storing there and they have their friends, because RV owners are a little clique. They hang out a lot together. They might travel together. But at any rate, so let's just say John has his RV stored out here, and he's got some friends coming in from Utah. He said, "Hey, man, they got a great RV park where you can stay overnight." And so, those people talk among themselves, so to speak. And so they're kind of the opposite side of the same coin. It's different people in terms of, somebody might not stay in the RV park, but they might store, but they know other friends who would. So it makes sense to put these together. And so that's what we've done in our Ennis project.
Now here's a story. Bill, you got storage there in Wiley. My friend Lydia and my friend Doug also own some storage. Now, just in April, I called just to verify with everybody, and I know you'll tell a little bit about your story. But Doug here said every one of his large storage. Well, every storage is full except for the 10 by 10 and the 10 by 8. They're not. There's a couple of them not full. Also, my friend Lydia, every one of her storage are full except for a couple of small ones, but the large ones are completely full. And I know you have a story about what happened in March.
Yeah, we have a property east of Dallas in a town called Wiley. And in March this year, we rented 7 units, which that was a record in number of positive rentals in 1 month's time. Because this is a boat and RV storage, so we don't have that many units. We have 160 altogether. And all the credit cards were charged. April was a good month for us also. May was a good month for us. And now June has been a great month for us. We rented to one tenant, we rented 4 spaces for business purposes. And now we're down to only 3 available units. So we're almost full. So every month our occupancy has been increasing since March, and now we're at capacity. So that's a great problem to have, John.
Yes. So Bill, also, maybe you can talk about, is storage landlord friendly? I mean, nobody's living in it. So what do you got to do if they don't pay?
Yeah, unlike other commercial real estate where you may have to evict somebody, if somebody doesn't pay, we want them to pay. We can lock them out and hopefully negotiate some number, collect the rent. But what happens sometimes is people move away or people pass away and they just lost track. And we've had that happen before. And so we hire a firm to come in and they will auction the property. And we just want to get the stuff out of there so we can rent the property. So it really is landlord friendly. And like I say, we work with the tenants as long as we can, but at some point it's not possible anymore. And then we need to have an auction.
Right. Now, I can speak to this a little bit about make-ready and generational updates. So I've owned apartment complexes single family homes. And matter of fact, I'll tell you, a guy's trying to give his deposit back from 4 years ago after tearing up my house that I put $28,000 in. And oh my gosh, so the make ready on storage is a broom in 15 minutes, right? That's it. I mean, what are you going to do? Sweep it out and it's ready to go. Now, the same thing is RV parking. Hey, they pull off, unhook their hoses, the next person pulls on and it's ready to go. Now, Bill, maybe you can tell me a little bit of why we have generational updates.
Yeah.
What is that?
So, with almost all commercial property, whether it be apartments, office buildings, shopping centers, you might have a tenant there for 7 years, but then when they move out, chances are, if it's an apartment, it's just showing wear and tear, but if it's like a commercial building, chances are that next tenant is not suitable for him the way it's laid out. So you have to go back in and rework that space, and that takes quite a bit of money sometimes. And so for those estates and trust and even individuals that want to have a multi-generational investment, those things will really hit the cash flow at some point. But with storage, our updates are very nominal, and it's just real simple maintenance. So if you're thinking about something to invest in for your children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren, you want to leave a legacy, I've never found anything better in real estate than self-storage.
Now, what about the growth of self-storage?
Well, we're seeing incredible growth in storage. It's been growing over the last quite a few years. But in 2019, we had about $87 billion in storage properties out there. Over the next 5 years, we expect it to grow 134% to 115 billion. So we're in a growth market, and the demand is increasing. The more storage we have, the more people seem to find to store in the storage units.
Very nice. Well, that concludes our webinar. Thanks everyone for joining. Now, Bill, before we leave, tell me why we're here. What are we talking about? Why are we putting this together?
You bet, John. What we're talking about here is passive residual income. Your banker doesn't ask when you bring some money in, did you work hard for that money or was that easy money? So we like passive residual income. The less we have to do to get the money, the better. And so both storage and RV parks really fit into that category. And, the information we share with you about storage and RV parks, we discovered some of that several years ago when we started working on this development project. But actually what's really fascinating is it actually got better and stronger. There's a bigger demand for both storage, RV storage and RV parks than there was in the past. So we're excited that we can actually bring more inventory online.
Yeah, and another thing before we go, I just want to reiterate that RVs for the last few months have been at all-time sells, and they're still going strong. Even the people that are retiring are buying these. They were buying them before, but now at a much larger rate. And the people who are millennials and younger are buying them just to do it full time and live in it full time and work from home. So many people are YouTube and bloggers and all kinds of and IT work, like, lots of people do that and they can do it from anywhere. Now the RVs, Bill, have, as you know, have the 5G Wi-Fi in them. So seriously, as long as they got signal, they can work.
Yeah, well, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope it's been beneficial. But we're excited to be in this market right now and growing in it. And it looks like it's a fairly long-term trend that the COVID is actually has kind of accelerated the growth we're already experiencing. So that's kind of neat that we're right in the front of that. So until the next time, we want to thank you for joining us, and hope to see you in the next video.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.